It is 12:30 in the
my
morning.
mic on?
Is
my mic on?
In Matt's basement, we're getting things kicked off.
Check
First
1 2
episode ever of As Is, and it's going to be a podcast where Matt and I sit here and we're going to talk at each other, over each other, under each other,
adjacent to each other,
parallel, in series on occasion. We prefer parallel because it gives us a lot less ohms and a lot more watts. Anyways, so we're going to spend an hour just talking about all sorts of shit. The basic plan here is to get some people in and just talk about cool shit and just kind of grow and be ourselves and talk about topics that we're familiar with, topics that we're not familiar with, stuff that we have to sit down and try to figure out on our own. While Matt pretty much spends the entire hour derailing everything, sending us straight into the ditch. I might do a little bit of that myself, but for this first episode, we'll probably keep it straight up. No frills. Today I think we'll talk a little bit about the Cubs, who just won the World Series for the first time in 108 years, which is a pretty big deal for Matt, who lives right near the Illinois. But we're near Illinois right now, so people were going bonkers. And when we actually cut this episode, I'm taking some footage from tonight, and you can see the level of debauchery that. Correct. I mean, at three bottles of champagne, I think it was.
I think one of them didn't explode correctly.
Yeah. There was a kid that got sprayed in the face with beer.
Direct hit.
Yeah. Great band.
What band is that?
They're from Janesville. They're called Boba Flex.
What?
Okay. So yeah, we spent a little bit of time. We're actually late. We meant to get down here a little earlier and get started,
but the Cubbies went overtime.
Cubbies went for it. We walked into the bar, and immediately the Mariners hit a 2-run homer to catch up to the Bears for a touchdown.
The game was choked.
Yep. And so everybody was mad at us because we just walked in, and they're like, "You motherfuckers." And Mark, he wasn't drinking tonight.
Mark was not drinking at any point in time. His slurred speech didn't warrant... he was not drinking.
Did not warrant any action.
Yeah, that he wasn't drinking.
No.
Mark plays bass. I've only seen him play bass while he is drunk. He usually slurs lyrics to songs. He usually sings at the inappropriate time. Pretty classic. Today he groped a woman and asked if she was under the age or over the age of 21. I think he was trolling for intercourse. And with that, Mark left. And he was not seen for the rest of the night. So Mark doesn't check out.
So moving on from Mark, Matt, let's talk a little bit about like where you and I come from, and how we ended up in this basement together in Silver Lake, Wisconsin, just north of the Illinois border. How the fuck did we get here? Where did we come from? And kind of give everybody who's like listening to this an opportunity to pick up what we're throwing down. Like what kind of shit are you gonna hear on this podcast? So Matt, why don't you start?
Well, it all started when I went to college after high school at Madison Media Institute. There was a man who came and played sax at my school. He said, I'm representing the school. And I'm like, oh, what kind? He's like, audio engineering. And I'm like, oh, well, I like that. That sounds better than going to school for music, because everyone that I've ever met who goes to school for music works at Hardee's. I mean, maybe working at Hardee's is cool, but I didn't want to do that. So I said, sign me up. It looked cool. Did a tour, blah, blah, blah. Moved up to Madison. And then one of my teachers, I think it was Digital Audio Workstations 1.
DAWs 1.
DAWs 1.
DAWs 1.
And Dan was the teacher. Dan was the one.
No, I had you for audio engineering.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. I don't believe I had you in a
You had
Pro Tools class. I don't think I had you in any of them. DAWs being Pro Tools, yeah.
I think I did because we were in that small room.
I mean, I was high on meth the whole time anyway, so don't count on my memory.
Yeah, and I wasn't enrolled. I just showed up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which I probably could have done and gotten away with. But so he was one of my teachers, and then I was screwing around, wasn't adjusting very well to college, and he pulled me aside, and to paraphrase, he said, "Quit fucking around." And then,
I don't think that's paraphrasing at all.
I think that's exactly what
I think
you
that's
said.
literally what I said.
But
I said, "You're, dude. I said you're smart, and I know you're good at this stuff. I know that like you're so good at this stuff that you're probably bored in class, but you need to quit fucking around.
Mm-hmm.
You need to quit fucking off." I think that was verbatim.
yeah,
Sorry, I interrupted. Go on.
no, but then and we just started. You know, there was a couple more classes that we had. The one that changed it all was studio recording, which was a long class.
It's like 10 hours long.
10 hours long and went till like 4 a.m, sometimes 5.
Wasn't
3.
it on a Thursday night?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like the worst.
Brutal.
Yeah, it was rough.
Brutal. Thank goodness I didn't have to come in early because I would have not came in. And this was a time before McDonald's had breakfast all day. So when I got off, I could get breakfast at McDonald's and I'd go directly to sleep and I'd have rock gut shit ass for the morning when I woke up. That's called alarm clock food because you don't wake up by the alarm clock. You wake up because your stomach feels like it's going to implode and then you are going to, excrete.
Metabolic alarm clock.
Yeah, metabolic
There it
alarm
is.
clock, correct. So that's what woke me up on those mornings. But I think, correct me if I'm wrong, we were in the bathroom peeing, which is the act of expelling urine through your penile region. And I'm looking down at the urinal cake and I said, urinal cakes, they don't taste like cake. Is that what I said?
You said,
Yeah, I think
when we got done peeing, we were washing hands, and you looked at me and you just go, "You ever notice how urinal cakes taste nothing like cake?"
I think that was
That was the defining moment where I was
Yeah.
like, "All right, this guy's he's more than just a student of mine."
Yeah. So, I think that opened up the door of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Mm-hmm. Pillars of salt all around us,
Just licked. And then
licked like windows. Oof.
Then can I have some more on my monitor?
Teflon's not here, man. Sorry.
Should we keep that or edit that?
Oh yeah, there's no cuts in this.
Oh, so
That's the beauty of a podcast.
yeah, I love it. But and then we'd crack jokes and stuff in class and whatever. And then what happened? This is where it gets hazy for me. Did we graduate and then you texted me saying, "Hey, do you want to play in this band called 88 Dynamite?" I said, "Sure." And then you said, "No, I'm actually kind of busy for a while. Tim's busy or whatever." And then it was exactly a year later. That's what it said on the Dropbox. Like you sent me the Dropbox link for the songs one day. And then literally to the day a year later, you sent me the link again for the songs.
Well, I know I originally talked to you when we were both taking classes together for the bachelor's program. It was in the baby auditorium.
Yeah.
And Mike Bailey was teaching the class at the time. And I just leaned over and I'm like, "Hey man, I think you'd really dig this project. It's like a Ramones punk rock group.
Yeah.
You dig it. You should check it out." And then, it was a while. Yeah, it was definitely after,
Because
not
I think
long
Maybash,
after I graduated.
Cause I think stuff like Maybash, I don't know if Tiny Rights was still a thing at the time,
No.
but there was something that was keeping you busy and prevented from starting the band practices. But when we practiced for the first time, it was at Horde. It was at the Horde House.
Yep. The cat piss basement.
Ooh, brutal. Not the most brutal place I've ever practiced.
Definitely not.
Which we could have even an episode alone on practice spaces that I have had the unfortunate task of having to bring my instruments down into.
Write that one down.
Write it down. But so then we got to know each other more through that. Through me being in Madison a bunch. I used to be in Madison a lot. Not much anymore, but and then just being around. There's some other stuff in there. We just kept plowing each other.
Yeah. Just
mounting. Lift the gunt and mount. Insert. Wash, rinse, repeat.
Flush.
Did it clip? I'm hoping it's clipping.
I don't see any red lights, so that means we're okay. And then starting last year, 2015, I brought Matt up to an event that I frequent called Dark Songs. Now, I was out of the country at the time, but fit right in with the song family that we have. Every year we do, there's 3 events. We've got the Steelbridge Songwriting Festival, and I haven't missed a single one, and this is my 11th year. 10th year? This is my 10th year. And I've done a handful of dark songs, but there's dark song. Steelbridge, sorry, let me back up. Steelbridge is in June. Beautiful time of year up in Door County, and there's a wonderful motel up there called the Holiday Music Motel, and basically they throw on the no vacancy sign for a week and pack this motherfucker with world-class musicians, some from around the world, mostly just around the States, and we get together 2 or 3 times a year at these events and just plow songs. I mean, in the past 10 years, or 11 years now, I've been going for 10, it's 11 years old, and we've accumulated 1,200 songs in total that are all 100% original. It's pretty amazing. It's a fucking sweet event. I got Matt involved last year, and he fit right in. He fit like a glove into that motherfucker.
It's like OJ. Wait, did the glove not fit with OJ, or it fit? The glove
fit when he didn't spread his hands really far apart. I don't know. Oh shit! We ran out of tape. We got to change this motherfucker, or the microphones will stop.
Try to get this thing to overheat. That'd be funny, and we can get some live action footage of some electronics.
So while Matt's fixing the TIAC, I'm gonna go into my history a little bit.
Dan was confirmed gay in 97.
1997, confirmed gay.
It was illegal at that time. Like, it was illegal to be gay. So he was sent to prison.
So I just got out in 2009.
This podcast is gonna suck.
Yeah, we're derailing already. So where to begin? I was in bands, and then I started recording bands. And then I went to MMI. I did the same program that Matt did years after me, but I did that same program, the audio program, which got me involved.
Excuse me, it's pronounced program.
Program, pardon me. So I started recording bands.
Program.
And I took these classes, and when I graduated, I actually applied as a teacher's assistant at MMI, and they turned me down because I was such a fucking obnoxious student. And I had a couple people in my corner and a couple people that were like
vehemently opposed.
That motherfucker's never gonna work here. But anyway, I teamed up with my good buddy Chris Casper, and we ran Ghost Town Productions.
Chris Casper is also very tall.
Yeah, he's very tall. Good contrast between him and I, because I'm not very tall. But I don't hit my head on shit, so I'm cool with it. Mm-hmm. We ran a sound company for 3 years, so I was doing live sound for a long time before I finally got a job offer or there was an opening, I guess. And I went for it at Madison Media Institute, where we both graduated. And then I started teaching. I did that for 5 years, and still did some recording in the background and some freelance live sound stuff. Bounced around a lot. Always did Steelbridge every year. Eventually met this motherfucker sitting in front of me, and now we just plow. We just plow nonstop all the time. So more recently, I've gotten into web development and tour management. I travel the world with a man named Brett Newski up out of Milwaukee, and him and I have completed 2.5 European tours, and we hit Sri Lanka, we hit Australia. So in the last year and a half, I've been all over the fucking map, doing a lot of that, doing a lot of tour management.
Besides Antarctica, there is no voltage there. You cannot plug anything in. There is not enough voltage. I've checked.
I'm gonna fact check him on this one. It's 240. And it is McMurtry Station, the only inhabited town on the entire continent. It's just south of Tasmania. In fact,
Antarctica. Did I say Australia or Antarctica?
You said Antarctica.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, McMurtry Station is the only permanent settlement on the continent. It's about 4,000 people, I think. It's all researchers.
I'm plugging things in, and they're blowing.
Yeah. Don't take your American electronics to McMurtry Station if you somehow find your way there. Actually, my stepsister applied to live at McMurtry Station. She's in Colorado now, but before that, there was a time she's like, I'm gonna go to Antarctica. I'm like, well, that's cool. Let me know how that goes. But they denied her. I mean, I guess you have to be a
male.
No. Not so much. More so, you just have to be a research. You have to be in like research, because that's like the only type of people that go down.
She wanted to go live there as is.
As is.
Where it is.
As is where it is.
The
just
sale
like
is final.
Podcast. Yeah, shipped, no receipt.
No receipt. You won't get a receipt, and if you request one, I'll say I'll get you one, but I won't get you one.
We'll not send it. You're just gonna have to try to use your bank statement for the tax return.
Which you'll lose.
Yeah, not going to happen. So you might as well just write off that write-off. Anyway, so we've derailed a little bit already, but I feel like we've covered all the basics, and I kind of want one of the things we want to do in this podcast is come up with a bunch of topics, and I want people who fucking listen to this thing and watch this to send us ideas, stuff you want us to like talk about. And like I said, I want stuff that we're familiar with. From me, you're going to get a lot of shit about like space and physics and just nerdy shit. I mean, even if you want to get into sci-fi, I'm gonna fucking plow it. Matt's gonna get into vintage gear and old music
and hazardous waste and plane crashes and old fans. eBay alone could be an episode. It could be an hour long
on eBay.
And, talking about my town alone could be
Silver Linings.
Yep.
We're gonna make an episode about Silver Linings, which is a documentary Matt wants to produce about Silver Lake, the town that we're currently in a basement inside.
Correct.
Okay, so that's the premise. That's the theme. We want a couple of topics, and we're just gonna fucking plow through them. The basic outline is this: we have an hour-long program, and for
just warning, the grammar on this particular podcast is going to erode. It will erode, and I might have to release like a Rosetta Stone type thing to understand what's going on, because you might get lost.
Might need a legend. You might legitimately need a legend for some of the bullshit that we talk about.
Here's the rubric. Here's the legend. You're done.
You're done.
Oh, there'll also be a lot of stereotypical Italian, American, Sicilian mannerisms and talking that happens on this.
And I wash my fucking hands of all of that. That's all you.
You're done.
So the idea is that we're going to have 6 topics, 10 minutes each. We start the show, we fucking dive in, and I don't want to put a limit on any of this shit. I mean, if it goes over an hour, it goes over an hour. If we end up getting to one topic and we talk about it for an hour, I don't care. That's great, but I want to have a bunch of topics so that we can kind of cover all of your bases, people that send in suggestions. And eventually we'd like to have some guests come in and fucking derail conversation with them, and basically just sodomize them with a microphone.
Or what would be cool, too, is if we ever do this live on Facebook, we can have a number to call, and you can call in live into the show.
And we'll plug you in.
We might have to put a delay on that.
Yeah, we might have to have a dump button. But, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. We're just in pilot mode now.
Yeah.
Matt chose today's first topic. It's one of my favorite. It's one of Matt's favorites. Because we can't get enough entertainment out of cars. Vehicles. Now, I don't know if cars or boats. I don't know which one's better. They're both pretty good.
Boats are transportation in general, like being stationary, then entering something that is going to bring you to a different location without you physically doing most of the work, and then you having to exit that thing, and then there's so many variables of issues that could pop up in that time. And even viewing these from the side of the road as other people go through it is funny. Because I've been there. I've been in cars that have broken down, and I've seen cars broke down. And I have this... I'm not a pessimistic man, but I have pessimistic views on cars.
All right, why don't we start with your Hyundai accident. So we just finished up. Halloween is just over, so we just finished up Dark Songs up in Sturgeon Bay. And Matt comes up to me like the final day. He's just like, Dano, I don't know if I'm going to make it home. I think I blew a head gasket. My fucking coolant is chocolate syrup.
Yeah, just Wendy's chocolate soft serve.
So, you drove it home. It made it back. You were very nervous. You were like shaking in your boots.
Yeah, it was
about driving back.
It was a white knuckle drive. It was brutal. It was a brutal drive because I thought, you know what, this thing's going to overheat. And you know what? I was to the point I was going to be like, you know what? If this thing breaks down, I'm pulling over. I'm lighting it on fire. I'm scratching the VIN beforehand, and I am exiting, and I am calling someone to come pick me up because I've had it. To this year in particular has not been nice to cars for me. I had one car for about 6 years that did me very well until the very end when it blew a brake line, and
Brakes took a shit.
Dude, I was driving. I put on the brakes, and I went right through the intersection. The brake light came on, and I could not stop. It was terrible. There wasn't many cars around, but it sucked. And I had to limp it home. It was close. It was here in Silver Lake. So, if one of the cops would have saw that, I would have been gunned down, shot, and I'd be gone.
And we wouldn't be here talking about it as is. Like your car.
Yep.
Sold as is.
Yeah, total as is sale.
Yeah. So, the car Matt's talking about is a
2000
Cadillac DeVille. Go ahead.
My DeVille that I have, yes. 99 DeVille.
Now, I once had a 1995 Cadillac Eldorado.
You have some great stories about that.
That thing... You think you're having a bad year for cars? That thing fucking dragged me through a marsh. That thing fucking. I sank way too much money. That thing was a lemon from the gate out of the gate, and I sank so much fucking money into it, and eventually just crashed it into a wall on New Year's Eve. And I was designated driver. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't drinking. I didn't drink anything all night, and I hit a patch of ice and just fucking flew straight into a wall about 45, 50 miles an hour, and then that thing was done.
You're done.
Ooh, you would have enjoyed the amount of steam and the sound of the airbags blasting off. It's a sound you never forget. The deck's cool was everywhere. That's one of Matt's favorite things.
I'm calling it right now. My death will be because of Dexcool poisoning.
Matt drinks Dexcool.
Yep. I have encountered way too much.
Kind of like iocane powder in Princess Bride. You know, you're going to develop a tolerance to it.
Yeah.
So if somebody ever decides to poison you with it,
I'll just be like,
the Dexcool. Nope. But you're going to overdo it one day, and
might hit the.
You're done.
You're done.
So the derailment is already cooking. So the Eldorado that I had back in the 1995, this must have been 2001.
Was it a 95 Eldorado?
It was a 95 Eldorado.
So it was 6 years old when you crashed it?
No, I think I bought it in 2002.
Still, it's under 10 years old, the car, right?
Yeah, it wasn't that old. But it was a piece of shit. It was a Texas car, and like it was black. The paint on top of it
scorched.
was it was just
clear coat,
burnt.
scorched.
Yeah, it was gone. It was fucking done.
You're done.
And yeah, I was driving it one day, and let's see. Let me go down the laundry list of shit that went wrong with this pile.
It's not funny when it happens, but when you recall about it,
oh my God,
it is hilarious.
So I was cruising along. I stopped for gas at a gas station just after work, and the fucking rear brake caliper fucking hyperextended, froze up, and so I'm driving away, and it's just fucking smoke is pouring out the back. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So I pull over and I call up my buddy. I'm like, dude, what do I do? He's like, well, throw it in reverse and drive forward again and see if that unjams the pad against the rotor. I'm like, all right. So I do it. It works, and I'm driving away again, but the damage is done. I can hear my back wheel just pep, 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 because there's a fucking bald spot on the piece of shit. Anyway, so go get that fixed. It was like $500-$600. I had to
what
get
the car was worth.
New tire. Yeah, right. New tire.
New
I had to
caliper.
replace I had to get a new caliper
because that was smoked,
and I had to get new rotors all around, new brake. It was fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And I remember I'm at the dealership. That was stupid. I'm at the dealership, and I talked to the mechanic. I'm like, yeah, man, what? There was this piece of trim on the passenger side door, and it had like a little fucking chunk taken out of it.
Was it a chrome piece of trim?
And it was a chrome piece of trim. I'm like, what would it cost to replace that? He's like, well, let me look it up for you. I mean, it's a $500 part, probably 2 hours of labor. I'm like, okay, thanks.
Exit
the building.
You're done.
You're done. So that's how that went down. Eventually, okay, let's go down the laundry list, because that thing, the brakes went out in that one too, but my buddy was driving it. Oh, let's not even get fucking started on the goddamn trunk in this thing, because nobody knows about Cadillac trunks. You have to shut them gently, and then there's a little motor that pulls it down and like kind of seals it shut. What is that called?
Some people call it auto suck down, or a trunk latch, auto trunk latch.
Auto suck down would be
which is honestly a great feature, but there's a massive Achilles heel to it, and that is
when you don't know that it exists, and
which no one does, because it's a trunk.
And so you fucking slam the trunk, and and there's this little fucking plastic piece that kind of holds this motor up, and then the trunk kind of latches into where the trunk latch is, and so you slam it, and it just fucking snaps off. It's just fucking dangling there. I must have like taken the like silver like jet engine epoxy that you buy at Menards that's meant for holding F-16s together, and I must have fucking glued that thing back together 5 times in the life of that car. And half the time if somebody would break it, and I'd just be like,
God damn it.
Fuck it. I don't even care. I'm not going to deal. And then I would get fed up with having to like, to try when I did have to use the trunk, trying to have to fucking finagle it, like take
Because
a
if-
drumstick and prop it up and then shut it, pull the drumstick out really fast.
Because if that thing isn't there, you cannot close the trunk.
Yeah.
Also, if your battery's dead, you cannot close the trunk.
So there's that. So anyway, lots of great things. The brakes went out in that car, and while simultaneously the heater core exploded in that car. But this is when my buddy Paul Luloff was driving it. So, and Paul Luloff definitely broke the trunk twice. Two separate occasions. But
Did he have to borrow the car?
I
Was it?
swapped vehicles with him I think I was like moving or something, but it was the dead of goddamn fucking winter. It was so cold, and he described it was beautiful. He's cruising along. He's cruising along, and he's like, all of a sudden, pop! The fucking the windshield was just fogged up, and there's fucking hot piss coming out of the defroster.
Yeah,
and
and
there's nothing you can do.
and you can't wipe it. You can't wipe it.
No.
It
And
just
he had
smears.
the defroster on high.
So it's even worse because it's just spitting out freaking
The
piss.
heater core is just doitered into oblivion. And at this time, the only brake active in the car was the e-brake, so he can't see anything.
Should it be legal?
2 fresh inches of snow on the ground, no brakes, rush hour traffic, middle of the day. This thing is just thistled. It's just fucked, totally fucked. And then New Year's of the end of that year, I eventually got all that shit fixed up. And I was driving it, I sank another fucking $800 into that piece of shit and drove it into a wall. And that was the end of that. So I was $3,000 upside down on that motherfucker when I drove it into a wall and completely totaled it. I think the scrapyard gave me something like $200. Like the rims alone were $200 a piece, and they were fine.
And that was the only thing on it that could be salvaged.
Yeah, this thing was. I wish I had some pictures of it. Maybe I can dig them up, and I'll put them. I'll add them to the video cast.
I thankfully never had any catastrophic failure like that with mine. The one thing that sucked is coming home very late at night on Interstate 94, and the water pump tensioner pulley seized up, chewed the belt. I just was driving, and I heard a punk, like a dull thud, punk under the hood. Next thing I know, I always had it on the temperature readout, which on those cars on the digital dash you can measure. You can read the RPM, the battery voltage, coolant level, mileage, all that stuff.
Yeah, efficiency, everything.
But knowing about the North Star engine and their overheating problems because their cooling system is a joke, I kept it on the temperature readout, and I just hear a ponk. And then the temperature starts going up. I'm like, I might need to put some new coolant in it, some more coolant. So I pulled over. Oh, there's still some in there. I'll just top it off a little more. Drive. Oh, it's going back up again. Great. Pull over. I'm like, I think I might have blown a head gasket or intake manifold gasket has been chewed. After the tow truck came about 4 hours later, this was at 6 a.m, I'm just blown. Get home, open the hood, belt chewed. Just chewed. So that was one of the last failures. And the last one was the brake line. Good car to plow in the back seat of. Very roomy. Comfy to sleep in. I've slept back there. Awesome ride, but not worth the repairs. It's a joke. It's sitting in my driveway, in my parking lot. And
You're ready to ship it out.
yeah, I'm ready to ship it out.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to stop holding on to it.
So if anybody's interested, it's
$800
$250 shipped. Runs great.
Yep.
Sold as is.
Yep. I
So
fucking
yeah,
hate
we
cars.
Cars pretty. Cars and boats. I don't know which one makes me laugh harder.
Boats make me laugh more because
Yeah.
I've seen way too much boat.
and
issues.
everybody's fucking drunk as shit. They're just caked. They're
or
gone.
hair of
They're
the
shot.
dog, or just drunk and
Yeah.
they're just riding on top of the water, going way too fast in the no wake zone. Oh, there could be a whole episode alone on boats. And I grew up having a boat. And what's ironic is no matter how many funny boat problems that I've seen or have been on with other people's boats, my family's boat never broke down. We never had problems because my dad and everyone always took care of the boat. But no one does because they're very expensive to keep up. So that's why you have all these derelict watercraft.
My family's boat did break down. And Matt loves this story.
It's the best when a boat breaks down because you just start drifting. In a car, you stop. In a boat, you just start drifting.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. Nothing at all.
And
It's
if
just
you
the
paddle-
slightest wind, you're trying to paddle a fucking pontoon box. You're not going anywhere. You're not
just-
getting that thing home. You need to flag somebody down, which we did.
Or you got to peel off that license and
You
just
gotta
fucking sink
chisel
it. Pull the plug if you got one of those
as
boats.
is.
But not a bass boat because you can't sink most of those. They're all filled with foam. But anyway,
Yeah, not that you could sink a pontoon boat either. But moving on.
solves all the buoy or the float.
No. You have to swim to shore and get the sawzall. So, yeah, we doitered the shit out of a pontoon boat. My grandpa was not happy. So my family has hang on, we got to change tape again. My grandfather has a cottage on Lake Wisconsin.
Big lake.
It's a nice big lake. It's actually more so a river that's been dammed up, but decent sized lake north of Madison, Wisconsin, and we go up there pretty much every summer and break the boat, or the pier or something. Something breaks every time. I would
Was it a pontoon?
it was a pontoon boat.
Was, right? This is a
We
situation.
replaced the motor on it now. The pontoon
After
boat
it fell off, probably.
Yeah, it fucking canked sideways and fucking rolled back into the drink. It was over. No, what happened was we had a bunch of people on the boat, but it's a big fuck. It was like a 24-foot pontoon boat. I think it was meant to hold
20 horse engine.
up to 12 people or something like that, 10 or 12 people. So we had a bunch of people on there, and at one point I was pulling Jack Anderson on a tube.
Which, by the way, he is the number one best Hank Hill impersonator
Of all time.
of all time.
Yeah.
There's-
In fact,
it's
you know
bulletproof.
what?
It's bulletproof. He
He's
needs to
gonna
get
be
on
our
the show.
first guest.
Yeah, he's bulletproof.
We're going to bring him as Hank Hill on to the show. We'll dress him up.
Yep.
Put him on. We'll sit him down on a tank of propane, and let her rip. And we'll force him with alcohol to talk like Hank Hill for the entire show. He has some good stories too. So he's fucking flopping around. I mean, I'm not even going fast. Like, you're in a pontoon boat. You got like
20 miles an hour, maybe.
You got like 6-7 people on the boat itself, and like one guy getting pulled. I don't even think we were pulling 15 knots, man. Like, it was a joke. So I mean, whatever, just like the most boring boat ride ever. And I'm like turning the steering wheel, and lo and behold, it starts like it's like hard to turn one way, really easy to turn the other way, and then like finally I'm just like, what the fuck? And I fucking pull on the wheel really hard, and it's pink. It fucking spins around and around. And Matt, if you were there, you would have dove in. You would have tied a cinder block to your ankle and just jumped in and called it a day. Forget about it.
Yeah.
You're done.
You're done.
You're done. So I stopped the boat. Well, first of all, I'm stuck in one direction, so I'm in circles here. So I stopped the boat.
Because the boat engine was cocked, right? When it broke.
it was cock-a-maymeed. And Jack fucking swims up and climbs onto the back. And this might be Matt's favorite part. So the way we drive the boat...
Two grown men.
Well, more like 6 grown men and a couple grown women. Jack is sitting on the engine, and he's got his legs propped up on either side, like on the back of this engine. And I give it some gas, and he just fucking manhandles the thing so that we can steer it. And we successfully made it back. Thankfully, we weren't that far from the cabin, but All right, great. So now I got to go replace this fucking
Cable.
this steering cable, and we get it. It's like $160. I replace it. It's fine. It works great. And the next weekend, I came up there, fixed it up. There was like some part. Oh yeah, there was this old rotten bench on the end of the pier. My grandpa got so mad at me for this because like. A couple of friends, they were just sitting on it. Seriously, I watched it happen, and the thing just one side of it just fucking explodes. And I'm looking at the wood, and it is just rotten. You could chew it, and it would dissolve in your mouth. Yeah. Rotten.
I'd be open to doing that.
So, anyway, we were up there fixing that. We fixed the pontoon boat, and I'm like, we spent all day doing this. Me and Casper. And we take the boat out, and the engine starts running really weird. And the engine starts fucking like brr, 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 and kind of come back brr, and go away and come brr. I'm like, what the fuck? There's like no temperature warnings. There's nothing's going. It's just I'm like it's got to be a fucking fuel problem. That's what I'm hearing in my head. It sounds like a fuel problem. I mean, the coolant system was running, the impeller was running, and like everything was fine. Brr. It's done. Will not start. I'm trying to say, tink, kink, kink. You know the fucking noise I'm talking about when the starter doesn't fucking work. Kink.
Yep.
Kink.
It's just going.
Yep. Nothing. So I take a fucking wrench out.
Were you out on the lake?
I'm on the lake. I'm in the middle of the lake, and I'm drifting, as you said. I'm banging on the fucking solenoid of the starter with a wrench. And absolutely squat. We're getting nothing. Nothing's happening. Kink, kink. Finally, I fucking wave down another pontoon boat, and he tows us back in shame.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I go to my father and my grandpa. I'm like, I don't know what happened to this engine, but it is not starting. It just died. It just fucking died. I don't know what happened. So after like all this stuff is just breaking, and my grandpa's already pissed at me, I fucking break the engine on his boat. But my uncle, who works in like he's worked on boats and like he installs piers for a living. He took it in. Him and my dad took it in to the boat doctor, and they said the engine had just straight up seized. And I'm like, wait a minute. I know what engines look like when they seize. I know what they look like. I know how much smoke there is. I know what they smell like. Exactly my point. And this was doing none of that. And the impeller was pissing water. Like, the coolant was working. I'm like, because the engine block had seized and cracked. And I was like, that has got to be a defective
engine.
There's got to be a defect in there. Anyway, so much to Matt's entertainment.
Boats are a joke.
There it is.
And people try to sell them for way too much on Craigslist. And even if you get one for like $100, boat stands for bust out another 1,000. Mm-hmm. You're done.
Biggest fucking money pit you'll ever find. All right. We're kind of nearing the end of the program for this pilot episode of As Is. Matt, do you got anything that you're aching to get off your chest?
Besides all this defecation, this needs to get ranked. This show needs to get rank.
Like ranked on Reverb Nation?
Oh, man. If you use that, I used it to apply for Summerfest. That's it.
That's all it's good for.
It's not really that. It's one of the most horrendous looking websites.
Your band's MySpace. Anyway, is that what you wanted to get off your chest?
Yeah.
Okay. So Reverb Nation, don't use it if you want to be a professional band.
Yeah.
God, 2 years time, we're gonna launch the world's largest space telescope. And as I referred to it earlier with Matt, it's the George Webb Space Telescope.
Like the restaurant.
or the waffle iron. What? No,
Ponderosa.
So it's the James Webb Space Telescope. It's considerably larger than the Hubble. And this motherfucker, they completed its construction. It has, I think it was 8 huge fucking mirrors on it. I mean, this thing is huge. And it's basically, it looks like a satellite dish of mirrors, of these hexagonal mirrors.
Look it up.
That are all put together. Yeah, we'll pull up a picture too and add it later on.
Make sure it has a watermark.
Yeah, it'll be Shutterstock for sure. What is it? Shutterstock? What is it?
Getty Images. That's a
Getty
good one.
Images. That's a good one. Anyway, so in 2 years' time, we're gonna launch this telescope into the sky and send it in orbit around the sun. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they actually have to bring the temperature of this guy way down because it has some really powerful infrared sensors on it. And the telescopes that they launch into space that are used for detecting infrared, which basically is like heat radiation, right? They have to keep them really, 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 really cool. And they have to block out the sun. They have to block the sun from it so that it doesn't get any noise from itself, any infrared that's given off from the device itself. So they have to put these big like refrigerator systems, these cooling systems on it, and keep them really, really, really cool. So anyway,
it's a big piece of shit.
It's a big fucking Skylab ready to fucking restart.
Challenger Columbia piece of shit.
Oh God, here we go.
Oh no.
Yeah, in another news along those lines, the ESA rover they launched another Mars probe that sadly crashed on the surface. We've been having some trouble launching shit into space lately, just as a species. And Juno, which is the fresh, brand new orbiter around Jupiter, that guy had an engine problem. There were some valves, some fuel valves that took a shit.
We're almost talking about cars again.
Yeah. Space cars.
Oh,
I mean,
that's going to be even worse.
instead of shuttling humans to other planets, we're just shuttling cameras to other planets and other types of shit kicker instruments. So, Juno, but Juno's back in action. They did a couple more tests, and they have to fire the engine I forget all the details, so bear with me, but. They had to fire the engine. I think they were slowing it down so that its orbit was smaller because it was going to take 52 days for it to orbit Jupiter, and they wanted to shorten that length of time. So they shorten up the orbit and tighten it up around Jupiter so that they could do more science. They could take more images and take more readouts and stuff like that. And then another semi-failure that we had out in space. Now, let me preface this failure with the fact that we shot a fucking missile in orbit around our sun. And for, what was it, like 8 years, the Rosetta craft, which eventually they put in orbit around a fucking comet, okay? Now, I really want to put this in perspective because this is a big deal. You're talking about taking a speck of dust that is floating millions, tens, hundreds, billions of miles away, and you know, in perspective, it's moving really fucking slow toward our star, which is, you know, millions of miles the opposite direction. And so what we do is we fire a fucking space probe with a bunch of shit, a bunch of fucking crazy shit on it. And we launch it towards the sun. And then we accelerate and we slingshot around the sun and we launch it way out into outer space. And it takes 8 years for this motherfucker, which is literally like thousands of times smaller than the speck of dust, which is the target. Okay, a moving target, no less. So this moving target, which is now accelerating, falling towards the sun, we send our probe out, and it is in a similar orbit. And as this comet is coming back in orbit around the sun, our space probe is catching up behind it, and we accelerate and then decelerate and catch up to this fucking comet. The rocket science behind this is so far beyond me, and it's mind-boggling. I love it, but I have no business attempting to calculate any of it. But I want to put that into perspective as to like what kind of feat this is. So this is the mission. We're gonna, hey, let's go put a fucking lander on a comet. I've got an idea. Let's go land on a comet. First time it's ever been done. So we had the Rosetta mission, the Rosetta probe, had the Philae lander. It was this little guy that detaches from Rosetta, and now you got to remember that a comet, albeit this comet is about roughly 3 miles in diameter. It's not a fucking circle. It's a weird kind of peanut shape. A peanut shape. And we take this lander and we drop this motherfucker on it, and this is all automated because these fucking things are so far away. We've got no real-time perspective. It takes minutes. It takes, 10 minutes at least for a radio signal one way. So we're just basically, we have these programs set up that we program these robots to do our bidding, and then we say execute, and then we have to wait 20 minutes for the execute, 10 minutes for it to arrive, 10 minutes for it to arrive. Now I'm fucking paraphrasing this time. I don't know how long it actually took, but it's let's just say it's a 20-minute round trip at the speed of light, right? That's our radio signal bouncing back and forth. And then we have to wait for the program to be executed, so add another 15 minutes, which actually turned into a matter of hours. So what happened, the Philae lander fucking attempted to land on the comet, but there was a mechanical failure.
The heater core blew up on the highway in rush hour traffic.
So the robot couldn't see anything, and fucking actually crashed onto the surface, but it was robust enough that it wasn't destroyed. It bounced. And I believe, okay, to put it into perspective, how weak the gravity is on this comet, it bounced for like 3 hours. So that was one bounce. It bounced.
Sounds like my ex-wife.
And her checkbook, and your checkbook after she was done with you.
Her coin purse.
Yeah.
Her ball purse.
I thought you were the one with the coin purse.
Yeah.
Well, moving on. So the Philae lander bounced for like an hour and a half the first time. And then it bounced again. And I mean, it's just like you look at the moon landing, you look at these guys fucking jumping up and down, taking steps on the moon. Now, bring that down to something that has almost no gravity. Like, it's almost zero gravity. Anyway, so I'm rambling here. I know I've been on this for a while, but the Philae lander ends up finally landing on its side near a kind of a rocky embankment, which sadly didn't allow it to get any sunlight. So it went on battery power for roughly 70 hours or something like that before it finally
canked out.
It canked out. Now, that said, as the comet got closer to the sun, there were certain times on its like weird rotation that it was able to pick up some sunlight. They actually restarted the Philae lander for a short time, and were able to conduct some experiments. But even though there was kind of a blunder, and they recently they actually crashed Rosetta into the comet, just like Juno, the orbiter around Jupiter. They're going to crash that motherfucker into Jupiter until it stops transmitting. And we've done this in the past with other space probes. We've done it on Venus, we've done it on Saturn, we've done it on Jupiter.
Saturn. Prenus.
Saturn. Mares. But anyway, sometimes people get like, oh, those motherfuckers at NASA, they can't get shit right. That European Space Agency, those Russians. Well, okay, the Russian Space Agency has seen a
massive amount of issues,
huge string of they have a consistent history of failures which result in the deaths. It's resulted in the loss of lots of equipment.
Yeah, they are as is.
But we won't go there. That conversation could drag on for a while, and we're very quickly approaching the end of this pilot episode. But so this all really started with the George Webb Space Telescope. So have no fear, we will get that fucker up. The Hubble was a disaster too, and when you look back, the Hubble was a disaster.
Weren't the pictures fucked up?
What the fuck was it? I don't want to be the guy that pulls my facts up from the computer. I want to be a real conversation here. I will if I have. I'll do fact checking if we have to. But
they took a picture of my penis.
Yeah,
and it was blurry. The whole thing was blurry. They said, we're going to take a picture of your penis, and what happened was that it didn't. Everything was all like grainy and pixelated. And I tried to enhance, and nothing happened. It was a joke. I would like a retry.
So I had to figure out how to fix the fucking it was a lens on the telescope. It was a lens problem. Something got damaged, or something was overlooked. It was like a very expensive oversight. I want to say it was upwards of like $2 billion.
Cash.
I could be wrong on that. So if anybody just wants to fact check me when we post this fucker live, or post this fucker on the internet, please feel free to correct me wherever I'm wrong. But I'm never wrong. So
no.
Anyway, the George Webb Telescope, we're hoping to be a huge success, and we're gonna be able to spot fucking planets with that thing. And well, I don't want to put in like okay, we've got this fucking giant telescope that we can look at stars that are light years away and actually spot a planet and like take a picture of it. It's not going to work like that. We use a spectrograph to basically you take an image of the star, usually when it's transitioning in front of its star, between us and the star. We're able to look, and maybe we will be able to look at these planets with these things, and then they look at this. They take a spectral analysis, and they can detect what types of chemicals and elements are present in the atmosphere of this planet. We've already done this using the Kepler space probe. We've already done this and have been able to detect the atmosphere and like we do this with stars mostly, but we've been able to do this with a couple of these hot Jupiters that are in real close orbit around, that are huge planets.
I haven't had a hot Jupiter in a long time.
I know. We're overdue. Well, anyway, I think this is probably good. It's been an hour.
Yeah.
So I think this is probably a good place to lift off and leave it for next week.
Space, then lift off.
Sorry, the drum set's right here, man.
That's right. You want to lift off?
No.
Not bad first episode.
I think we did all right.
And we
don't really care whether you like it or not.
I don't give a shit. You can call me. I'll suck your balls.
What's your number?
911.
Perfect.
Area code 911.
So all right. Anyway, no particular format here. We're just gonna kind of run the gamut on a couple of topics every single time. We'll eventually start bringing you some guests and some cool people to talk
or
with.
not cool people. We could have some real bags of piss on here.
We'll get Trump Pence.
Trump Pence.
So next week, Donald Klump on As Is.
He could be president next week.
That man is the epitome of As Is. Anyway, we're not going to go into that. We are at exactly 1 hour, so I'm gonna call it right here, right now. We're gonna get together next week, either in Madison or Silver Lake,
Or in a car.
or maybe in a car, maybe at a George Webb,
Yep.
or maybe at a dingy, dirty basement where bands practice and shouldn't be because of the condemned factor of the building itself and the mold on the wall, the black mold. New species of black and white mold crawling up the wall. So, anyway, we'll catch you next week. And keep it as is. $500 shipped.
Bye.
Bye.